For over 30 years, Mike Kelly was the voice of the longest-running real estate talk show in the North Bay, The Real Estate Hour. The legacy continues with Allison Norman and her business partner, Stephanie Norman, the newest mother-daughter real estate team, hosting with updates, information, and tips for buying or selling your home. DRE license numbers 017-20334 and 022-09237. Now, here are Allison and Stephanie.
Understand the way I feel.
That was the part I was waiting for. Good morning.
Good morning.
Who else is excited about baseball season?
Woohoo!
I think every Giant fan right now. I mean, really.
I know opening
Yeah.
day was last week, but the Giants are at home. They had their home opener, and
They're doing amazingly well. 6-1,
Woohoo.
7-1.
Yep,
I'm losing
awesome.
track.
Let's go
and
Giants.
we are going to be there on Wednesday.
We
We're
are,
gonna-
yeah.
Somebody
We're
invited
very
us.
excited.
Woohoo.
Woohoo.
Anyway, happy and always, it's spring when
it's
baseball starts. So anyway, happy spring, happy baseball, and welcome to the Real Estate Hour.
Yes. See, we don't just talk about real estate here. We talk about everything.
Talk about everything. Yes, a lot about community things happening out and about.
Yeah.
And, all of that stuff, and then also, just
All the things.
things that affect the real estate market and things that affect our everyday lives that ultimately affect, I think, the real estate hour. I mean, the real estate market.
Well, it affects the real estate hour as well.
By giving us something to talk about. Anyway, So today we're going to talk a little bit. It is, we're in April, and so we're going to take a look at the March numbers because we've, completed a week after, which gives hopefully all the realtors out there a chance to change all of their statuses in their listings for the MLS, saying that they were sold and all that sold data and all that good stuff. So we usually give it a week. So here we are, about a week in. Yeah. So we're going to talk about those numbers for, what happened this March versus last March, and then really just kind of a look at what happened in the market in general, which we do every week anyway. But we do. And then, excuse me, we also have some information about what not to do once you've gotten a mortgage, pre-approval, you get an offer accepted, things you shouldn't do. Okay.
Big ones.
Big things. Even if you've gotten your pre-approval and you're out looking, there's some big things that you need to make sure you don't do. And, always have that open communication with your lender, your loan officer, and your realtor, that if you need to, we'll talk about it more, some things. But if there's something that you need to do as far as like moving some money around or something, always talk to your lender and say, is this okay for me to do, or is it going to cause a big problem?
Yeah.
So,
and that's one of the big things with working with a local lender. So that way you're able to communicate with them when you need to.
Yeah.
And not having to, I don't know.
Yeah,
schedule.
having that local, and then they know kind of the local, all the local nuances and things that need to do. It also helps on that note with the local, using a local lender.
Yes,
it really does help when you're presenting your offer and you've got a lender pre-approval from somebody that the other agent is likely to know, and they can tell the seller, their agent, they can say, I know this lender, I've worked with him or her, and they do a great job, and I know if they say this person's pre-approved, they've done the work to make sure that it's happened. Yeah. So it's really important. And then, or you get a pre-approval letter from some online, where somebody maybe just put in their income, and they ran a quick credit report, or not yet. And there's a difference between pre-approval and actual approval. Yes, so anyway, so that. You brought up a good point. It is very important. Very. Really, I mean, if the best scenario for you is using an out-of-area lender, it's not the end of the world, but it definitely helps you to have a lender that's here local. So that's that.
And then
anyway.
we're also, sorry. So this month is Earth Earth Month, I believe.
Earth Month, yeah. When is Earth Day?
Earth Day is April 22nd.
Okay, yeah.
But it is Earth Month, and it's also Autism Awareness Month.
Okay.
I'm not sure what else. Those are the two things I know. There may be more. Not
like every
excluding
day
anybody on purpose.
Yeah, yeah. But no, it's good. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I think, did you have a list, or were we going to wait? I think a little bit about things to kind of think about during Earth Month, and you know, really things you can get outside and do, things that you can do around your house,
Getting your home.
and then some information from Recology because they have a good list of things.
They do, yeah. And we'll have more on when it gets closer to April 22nd, the actual Earth Day. But for Earth Month, we do have some things to talk about.
Yes, indeedy. And then also we are gonna finish up. We were talking about fire zones, wildfire, and all of that last week, and we didn't have time, so we're gonna talk about that. But also, just you're hearing a lot on the news. At least we are, and I'm sure if we are, you are too. Hearing a lot on the news about the changing market, and there's some different outlets will say, oh, it's a buyer's market, and it really maybe in their area it is. We're really not in a buyer's market. However, there's a lot more inventory, and when there is more inventory, there's things as a seller that you can do to, make yourself stand out. But there's also things as a buyer that you can do to maybe negotiate. You may have a little bit more negotiating power. It's really important, though, to understand that little tiny part of the market that you want to put an offer in on.
Yeah.
That little part of the market that you're looking at, is it the only house? Is it priced really well? And they're pricing it to sell. You're not going to come in there asking for the world when it's the only property out there and it's what you really want. However, if there's like 5 or 6 different, listings in an area and they're competing for you, the buyer, there may be some things that you can kind of throw in to ask for. So it's really important to work with somebody that understands that, and really to even yourself as a buyer to kind of follow the market and understand that little niche of the market that you're looking in. Because when we talk about the numbers, it's the whole market, all of Sonoma County. And when the national news talks about the market, they're talking about the entire country. California is very different, as we all know. And so in Sonoma County is very different than all of California. So when you're looking at the numbers on the news, when you're hearing it or reading it in the newspaper, just remember that they're talking on a bigger level, and their numbers reflect an entirely, bigger portion of the country than your little nook here in Sonoma County.
And so we just do Sonoma County market updates, but if you want a more specific, like your neighborhood in Santa Rosa or Petaluma or wherever, specific neighborhood, we can do that for you and pinpoint exactly where part of the market you're looking at.
Yeah, whether you're a buyer or you own a home and you're just curious about what's happening in your neighborhood.
Yes, we're more than happy to help.
Absolutely. We also go outside of Sonoma County, by the way. We cover 5 North Bay counties.
We're also licensed realtors.
Yes. It's funny because we do have to say that once in a while, because people do. They'll, I've had people in the past, Mike and I, back in the day, somebody I've had, and since then had people call and say, or call us up or email and say, hey, can you recommend a good realtor here in Sonoma County? I'm all, well, actually, we don't just talk here on the radio show about real estate. We actually sell real estate, and that's our job. This is our hobby here. This is not a hobby, but this is what our radio show. We love to educate people. I think we both see the importance of really and really kind of telling it as how it is, and going beyond the news headlines and all that, and really explain to people what's going on. So yes, but behind all of that, and the reason we know all of the things that we know is because we're actually out there working, and we are happy to help anybody that has any real estate needs as well. So anyway, that's where we are. Is it about time for a break? I think it's about time for a break. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we are let's dive into the numbers. We'll talk about that and go from there. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
And we're the Norman Home Team, and we are here on the Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back.
The Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman. They'll be right back with more on KSRO.
Thinking about buying a home? Now's the time. Contact Allison and Stephanie Norman, the Norman Home Team.
Owning a home comes with incredible benefits, a feeling of accomplishment, stability, and financial growth, as well as a true sense of community. It's easy to fall in love with home ownership.
That's right. When you own, you and your lender set your monthly payment. No surprise rent hikes or evictions.
Plus, as your home value grows and you pay down your mortgage, not your landlord's, you're building your wealth.
And let's not forget the sense of pride and peace of mind that comes with home ownership.
When you're ready to start your journey, we're here to help.
Reach out for a free, no obligation conversation today.
Now more than ever, who you work with matters. Contact the Norman Home Team. Visit NormanHomeTeamWineCountry.com to get started. The Norman Home Team at Keller Williams Realty. Because two heads are better than one. DRE license number 017203334 and 022092337.
Now, back to the Real Estate Hour, hosted by Allison and Stephanie Norman. Now, here are Allison and Stephanie.
Good morning.
We're back.
Good morning. Happy Sunday morning. And it's a beautiful day and a great day for some baseball.
And a great day
Is
for
there,
real estate.
is there a game today, Joe?
There is. They play Seattle at 105.
All righty. Go
Wrap
Giants.
up the 3-game series, which they won the first 2 of.
Let's go Giants. Okay, so anyway, so let's talk about the numbers and looking at what happened. We're also going to cover what happened in March in last year versus this year. And then we'll take first, we're going to take a look at the regular, our normal weekly look at what's happening in the market. And then, Stephanie, you have the hot sheet or the market snapshot, which is a look at what happened last week from last Sunday until this Sunday. While we were gone, here's what happened. But first, let's take a look at what's currently active on the market here in Sonoma County. Remember, like we said, this is just Sonoma County. These numbers may be a little different than what you see on the news because we're looking just at Sonoma County, not the Bay Area, not California, not the United States. And then also, some people, when they pull these numbers and you hear the numbers, they include condos and townhouses, which really brings that number down a little bit. We've always, and I got, back to Mike Kelly, that's how he always did it. That's how I do it. A lot of people. So sometimes if now you see lower numbers, it's because they're probably including the condo market. We break that out.
So we don't include the condo market.
We do not include the condo townhouse market. It's a whole different market, and it's it skews the numbers in my opinion if you add those in.
Yeah.
So single family homes. There are 760 active single family homes on the market right now in Sonoma County. The median price of those active homes right now is $1.1 million, and that number is actually up a little. We've been talking, it's spring, and we've said get your house in the market before spring if you can. Well, we're in spring. There is more inventory. This is why we're going to have that conversation a little bit later about, if you are in a situation as a buyer where there's a lot of listings, you may have a little bit more power to negotiate some things. So anyway, we're seeing it. The numbers are up.
Yep.
In escrow of those, not of those, but also there's 760 active single-family homes. There are 293 in escrow. That number is also kind of consistently staying up, so that's good. We like to see that. It's keeping up with the numbers. Condos, there's 118 condos. That's, again, a big number, and that number is going up. And that's just, really a big number in general. So there's a lot of condos. Excuse me. There's a lot of condos, townhouses on the market. That is a market, depending on where you're looking and what complex. If it's like the only one and they never come on the market, you're not going to have a lot of negotiating room with that. But if there's just, your basic condo, townhouse, and there's a whole bunch of other ones in that same price point, as a seller, you're going to maybe see that there's not as many buyers because it's spread out and you've got some competition. So that's where there may be buyers coming in and asking for things. And just know that you don't have as much leverage as you do if you're the only condo in that community. Mobile homes, there are 78 active mobile homes on the market with 36 in escrow. Multi-unit homes, 2 to 4 units, there are 52 active on the market with 16 in escrow. And then land, that number is actually down. It's been up in the 270s. It's now 256 active land listings. And I'm only looking at residential, so buildable, or you could build a house land. There's a lot of other industrial land. There's ag land. This is just buildable land and acreage, acreage or city lots. There's 256 and 32 in escrow, and that's really normal for that number to be so big, far apart. But anyway, so that's what's currently happening in the market. If you look at sold in March versus sold in March 2025 versus sold March 2024, single family homes, we have 245 that sold in March this year and 269 that sold in March last year. So we're a little lower than we were last year. However, the prices are pretty much the same. The median price point of those sold, $865 this year, $869 last year. 54 days on the market this year, 57 days on the market last year. So this March was very similar to last March. The condo market sold 26 this March versus 41 last March, and that's why you can see that number is so high.
Yeah.
We're just not selling as many condos, and I don't know exactly why that is. When there's more inventory in a lower price point, people are more likely. Most people would rather have a single family home than a condo. Not everybody. Some people it makes sense, and that's what they want. They want the amenities. They want the no maintenance and all that. But if somebody's looking, they could go either way. You have much more buying power without the HOA of a condo. So anyway, 26. Last year, 26 this year, 41 last year. Mobile homes, 31 sold this year, 22 last year. Then we're talking just about March again. Multi-unit, 2 to 4 units, 13 sold this year, 13 sold last year. So that market is the same as far as what sold in March. The land market, this is a big difference also. The 17 sold this year, land, 30 sold last year in March. Wow. The land, I would guess that people are concerned about the economy. They're concerned about tariffs. They're concerned about the cost of building a home going up, which is what happened in 2021. Also after with COVID, suddenly maybe it was the end of 2020, shot up in the prices and the cost to build a home became huge. So anyway, land, a lot fewer land listings sold this year than they did last year. However, the land listing number, like I said, right now is actually down 256. It was up in like 270 not long ago. Anyway, so that's a look at kind of what happened in March in Sonoma County, and then what's currently active. If you want something very specific to your area, like Stephanie said, or if you want just, hey, what happened in Petaluma? Hey, what happened in Lake County? What happened in Marin County? We can break it down, or just in my neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah. So, or the place where I want to move. I've had my eye on this spot. Is what's happening with it. We're happy to break it, or to narrow it down and do just that. So you have a look at the hot sheet.
I do. So for single family residential in Sonoma County, we have new listings, 171, with a median list price of $950,000. Back on market, we have 22. Price reduction, 59. In escrow, 85. Pending, 59. And closed, 87, with a median sold price of $793,000 and 41 days on the market. Congratulations to all of you who either bought or sold a home.
Yeah, congratulations.
Woohoo.
Or both,
Yeah.
We had a conversation with an agent last week about that whole process of selling first, buying first. There's a whole, there's like 4 different scenarios of ways you can go as far as, people are afraid if they sell their house, they're not going to have somewhere to go, So that, also they're afraid they don't want to give up that low interest rate, but we can't fix that, but we can help you. Although there's a lot of speculation that rates might come down. It's really kind of up in the air. What we've been hearing this whole time, and for the last year is, or beginning of this year, is that rates aren't going to really change much. But with everything happening, it may, if it triggers a recession, it may trigger a reduction in interest rates, which is good, except if the cost of living is higher, Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, we shall see on that. So stay tuned, but we're still not really sure what's going to happen. And waiting out that and timing the market on rates, it's not a good idea. If look at what it's going to cost you to buy a house right now. Can you afford it? And do it that way. And don't wait for the rates to change.
Yeah. And then there's always the selling your home or buying a home contingent on you selling a home.
Right. So you can buy a home contingent on you selling that home. You can sell your home contingent on finding a home. You can ask for a rent back up to 60 days. The bank doesn't consider it an investment loan. If it's over 60 days of a rent back, they assume that now you're a landlord and they want to do an investment loan, investor loan, not a homeowner or a, primary residence loan. So be careful with that and talk to your lender about that. That's one other thing to ask your lender about. But there's different scenarios, and there's timelines that we can put in place, and that sell it, not having to sell it unless you find a replacement home. You're lowering your buyer pool. So you don't have as many buyers come in to look because they don't want to get tied up in a property where you could say, well, actually, I couldn't find anything. I decided not to sell, and they'll have the right to do that. So, however, it can be done, and it happens a lot. Typically, it's more on the other side where you're buying a home subject to you selling a home. If you're going to do it that way, that's really important. A few things. The communication between the agents is huge. And then the agent that's working for the seller really is going to want to see that your house is on the market. If it's in escrow, even better. If contingencies are all removed on your sale, even better. It's it's basically you'll probably be coming in with cash when your house sells, and it's all, just needs to be wrapped up in a nice, tidy little package, and it's ready to go. That's really easy to get accepted. The one that's hard to get an offer accepted on is I haven't even put my house on the market yet. We're probably going to put it on the market in a couple weeks. It's going to be $900,000 when it's maybe worth $850. We're just going to see if it sells. So if you want to put an offer in on a property and you have a house to sell, it should be in escrow. Or I'm sorry, it should at least be in the MLS. So you can take that MLS package and all the information, present it so your agent can present it to the seller's agent and say, here's everything we have, here's all the comps were priced accordingly, we're priced to sell quickly. How bad do you want this house that you're moving into? You're gonna price it right. Get it sold.
And I was just going to throw in there, so we had talked about using a local lender. It also helps to use a local realtor because when they know each other or they're local, it's easier for them to communicate and all the things.
And it does help a lot. And I say that a lot. We both say that a lot. And just important to remind that, we also have to remind people a lot. The seller and the buyer are the ones that are doing the transacting,
Yes, not the realtors.
And a lot of times we'll hear a realtor say, well, I'm not going to accept that offer. It's like, well, you're not, it's not your say.
It's not your decision.
And we have people ask us that, well, will they accept, this a lower offer? And I'm like, I don't know. Present it to us, and we'll present it to our client and let them decide. I don't ever answer for our client. It's their decision. What they want to do is their decision. We're here to advise, and we're to help you navigate through the process. And it's important to keep that in mind, that it is ultimately the buyer and seller decision. And the lender
definitely.
and the appraiser. Anyway, we're going to take a break for the news. I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We are the Norman Home Team, and you're listening to the Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back.
We are still celebrating the opening of baseball season.
We are.
Thanks, Joe, for finding that music for us.
Thank you.
Old Creedence Clearwater Revival. Yeah? John from Creedence. Yeah, from. I remember when that album came out. There's a couple of good songs on there, but that's my favorite. Anyway, okay. Let's talk about
real estate.
Imagine that. I wanted to finish up, and it's my error this morning that I was thinking we didn't cover the fire hazard severity zones, but I think we did. We mentioned CAL FIRE has some updated. So we did get that in last week, but there was some good information that a couple of lenders sent out to me via email that they send out to everybody in like a newsletter that was really good about homeowners insurance 101, protecting your home and possessions. That was the thing that we ran out of time for last week. So it's some good information about the basics, and homeowners insurance is a requirement if you're getting a loan. They absolutely will not loan you money because they want to protect their asset.
Yeah.
So they're going to make sure that you have enough coverage for your property, and that's where we're running into a lot of problems with the fire zones. The flood zones has always been an issue, and especially out by the river. If you're in a low-lying area and there's has been flooding, it's the 100-year flood zone is what, and the way that there are flood maps that the insurance companies use. But there's also on the natural hazard disclosure report that everybody as a seller is required to provide. There is information about, if it's in a flood zone, if it's in a dam inundation area, which means that, that there's water, a dam might break and the water's going to become flooding.
Oh, no.
Anything like, dry creek up there where you're sitting below Lake Sonoma. On the other side, on Cloverdale, where you're sitting below that part of Lake Sonoma, they are in a dam inundation area. That doesn't normally cause you to need flood insurance. It's just something that comes up on your natural hazard disclosure. But there are some things that, especially out in the river, with flood insurance. But the bigger issue is the fire insurance, and it's kind of everywhere now. And not even just in Sonoma County, but Marin County, there's issues with that. Lake County is huge costs of fire insurance. But the thing is, you have to have it if you're getting a loan. If you're not getting a loan, you don't have to have it, but it's really not very smart to not have it. But people maybe weigh their options and say, well, if I lose this house, is it going to cost me more than if I had insurance and I was paying, so people weigh their options with anything. If you don't have a loan, it doesn't matter. You can do what you want. But if you have a loan, you're going to have that. So, and the problem that we're having, what people used to do is, as a buyer, you'd wait till the end of the, it's getting ready to close escrow. And it's like, oh, wait, we need that proof of insurance for the lender. And then the insurance company is scrambling to get the insurance. You really can't do that anymore. It has always been a contingency, but it's really kind of broken out now as a very separate contingency, and it's really important.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like when you do getting inspections done before you put in an offer.
Yeah, or having the seller do the inspections.
But yeah, sorry.
That's okay. We knew what you meant.
And then getting the insurance figured out, even so for the insurance, getting it figured out before you...
Even before you put an offer. That's a good point. And it really is a good idea to look and see if you can even get insurance on that property, because it's a huge disqualifier in some cases if it's such a big dollar amount that it's going to knock your debt to income out of qualifying for that loan.
It's also the same as HOA. It could make or break your loan if it's going to be too high, make your payment too high. Mm-hmm. Then that's going to mess you up. Or the insurance is too high, that'll mess up the loan too, because you don't want it to be too high of a mortgage payment monthly. Yeah,
or it won't qualify. So, or maybe you just don't want it. You might even qualify. We have a lot of times where somebody the lender will say, you qualify for, $800,000, and the payment for that they'll qualify for, but they go, well, I'm not comfortable making that big of a payment. And that's why it's important to really understand and look at it, not what the interest rate's going to be, not, how much it is, as much as, is this payment comfortable for me?
Exactly.
It's really important. But anyway, so you have to have insurance, sometimes called hazard insurance. Homeowners insurance protects you financially in the event of damaging your home. And it also covers... This list has a good thing. It's the perils. What's covered? The perils. And here's the 10 perils. Perils: fire or lightning, hail and windstorms, explosions, riots and civil commotion, damage from aircraft, damage from vehicles, smoke, theft, vandalism, and volcanic eruption. Oh. I don't think we need to worry about that here, but...
I don't know. We might. You never know.
Do we live near a volcano? I don't know. When our property up in... at the base of Mount Hood. In Oregon, actually sits at the base of an active volcano. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, probably good that I didn't know that.
It could explode, could erupt at any time. We don't really have to think about that so much, but that is typically what the perils of homeowners insurance is. And you want to make sure, this is when you're going to have a conversation with the insurance agent and, what kind of coverage do I need? It typically doesn't cover earthquake, and that's a separate policy. It typically doesn't cover flood. If it's in a flood zone, you have to get a separate federal flood policy. Same with if it doesn't cover fire. I mean, if they won't cover the fire because of the area, then you can get that FAIR plan.
Oh, yes.
And the FAIR plan is not very fair. It's an acronym, but FAIR. And it is kind of the insurance of last resort. If you can't get any other kind of insurance, there's the FAIR plan. It's very expensive, and that's where you got to be careful. If it is a property that's you have to have the FAIR plan, you need to talk. You need to talk to your lender and say this is what it's going to cost.
It always comes down to talking to your lender.
Yes, talk to your lender, talk to your insurance company, talk to your lender, talk to your agent. We're all here to coordinate all of that for you, or along with you, really, not for you.
Yes, along with you.
Yeah. So,
and if you need help finding a lender, we know some good ones we could recommend for you.
Yes, we do. We know some good insurance agents as well.
We do. Yes.
Anyway, so the one thing you can do is if the insurance is too much. So you get the FAIR plan. The FAIR plan only covers fire. All it covers is fire. And then there's all the other perils, and personal, there's liability, there's insuring the inside of your house, there's if somebody gets hurt on your property, all of those things that can be a separate policy. And so you have two policies. You have a policy for all of that, and then you have the fire. If you can't qualify with both, the cost of both of those, but if you narrow it down just to the FAIR plan, just to the fire coverage, you can get the loan with just the fire coverage. It's really not advised that you forego all the rest of it. However, if you really want that house, and it's the only way you can do it, is get it down to a low enough price for your insurance, you can do just the fire coverage. And you can get that loan. Again, talk to your lender. It depends. There may be some loan products where they say, absolutely not, you need all of it. I've never run across that. It's always been, if you could just have the fire, that's all we care about.
Yeah.
Or flood, if it's in a flood zone, they're going to want that too. What's tough is, out at the river, it was always a concern about flood. Now it's a concern about flood insurance and fire insurance. So just, and not trying to scare you, scare anyone off, but just know that this is a major thing that you need to think about when you're putting an offer, or you find a property you want to put an offer in. And your agent will help you through that process. And should be advising you that this is what you need to be doing.
Yeah. I always compare it to when you're getting a car and you, before you even get the car, you check out what the insurance is going to cost for it. And that way can I afford that payment? It's kind of similar to that, but a house is a bigger deal, obviously.
Right. And then, but it's good. It's a good way to compare it, especially for younger people who haven't, or first-time buyers who haven't bought a house, but they have bought a car, So it is a good way to compare it. I like that.
Oh, thank you.
Good job. Anyway, so, and just another reminder, just at the end of this conversation, is updating your policy. We saw in 2017 and the other fires that we've had, we saw a lot of people that were underinsured. And just, prices have gone up a lot in the last 10 years or, 5 years even. Since COVID, we saw huge increases. And people, if you haven't checked your policy, are you covered for what it's going to cost to rebuild your house? And with the cost of building going up too, I mean, there's a lot of things. So make sure that your coverage is adequate for your property.
Yes, definitely.
For the replacement value and all of that. So don't, because it happened, a lot of people were really underinsured.
Well, we didn't even expect that to ever happen, so that's probably why. But,
right, especially in those, the neighborhoods where we didn't expect to see a fire come through. But anyway, so it's important to know that it could happen anywhere. All righty. Are we going to take a quick break?
Yes.
All right, let's take a quick break. And I think, are we good for a break, Joe?
You good? Okay.
Yeah, let's take a quick break. We come back. We are going to talk about, you've got that list of things to avoid once you've been pre-approved for your loan.
Yes.
And then also the leverage that you may have as a buyer.
Yes.
Something else?
We did have some Earth Month things.
Okay,
but-
good. We'll throw that in there too.
Okay, if we have time, we will.
Okay, let's take a quick break. Actually, you know what? Let's not take a quick break. Let's talk about this real quick. We've got a couple minutes, right, Joe? Before we.
Whatever.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm making up the rules today.
Okay, so
Making up the rules as we go.
we have Earth Month 2025 impactful. To make Earth Month. Sorry. To make Earth Month 2025 impactful, consider these 10 actions.
Action items.
Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Plant trees. Support local businesses. Eat plant-based meals. Conserve energy. Advocate for environmental policies. Sign petitions. Share knowledge. Volunteer for environmental organizations. And embrace a circular economy and reduce your carbon footprint.
All the things.
All the
A couple of
things.
those I want to touch on because they sounded interesting.
Yeah.
So you said signing petitions is really just supporting organizations that are working to protect the environment. So
Yeah.
if that's important to you, which as it should be, you be on the lookout for stuff like that. Elected officials that have that kind of vision and
Yeah.
are on the same level as that. Things that think about Mother Earth this month here in April.
Yes,
Circular
definitely.
economy, repair and upcycle. Somebody mentioned. When we were talking about tariffs and the cost of goods and stuff, they were saying, buy used items. You're not, it's
That's a good point.
it is a good point to avoid that. And then also it's just good in general if it's something that could be reused and you're going to, ask somebody. There's some good Facebook pages that you can just give away something if you don't, or give it to the Redwood Gospel Mission is really good at taking, they're the least picky of organizations that take donation stuff. There's others, the Goodwill, there's the Pick of the Litter is also a good one. There's, I know I'm leaving out many.
Yeah.
Sutter VNA Hospice has a great thrift store. To go in and shop and reuse, buy things that have been reused is going to a good organization, the money that you spend, but also you're not throwing things away,
Yeah.
So or just put on Facebook, hey, I've got this. Does somebody need it? And I guarantee you somebody will say, yes, I've been looking for one of those, So do all of that. Did you see anything on that list that stood out that you thought was worth elaborating
all
on?
of them are kind of worth elaborating. I just don't know how much
I
time we
don't
have.
have time. And maybe we'll pick a few each time here during Earth Week.
That's a good point.
There was something about walk, bike, or use public transportation. Carpool if you can. Unfortunately, Sonoma County is not super transportation friendly. Sorry, Sonoma County. But really, we need to do better. The bus, I think it has gotten better.
Yeah.
Since when my kids were little, it was really hard to take the bus places. And you go to other parts of the country and the world, and public transportation is so much easier. So, but they've been working on bike lanes and making it safer. And the SMART train, there was I don't have the information in front of me, but the Windsor line, I don't think it's open yet, but they are doing test runs from the
That's really
Santa
good.
Rosa to the airport
Nice.
airport
That's
drive
awesome.
to the Windsor, and then next it'll be Cloverdale, Joe.
Woohoo.
you can take the train up to Cloverdale. Anyway, alrighty. Well, we'll take a break. But
Okay.
just things to think about. I am sure. I'm sorry. Things to think about during Earth Month and really all the time.
Yes, definitely.
Think about our Earth and taking care of it. And there's some things that you can do. And we'll put. We have a link, I think, to that list. Maybe we'll put that up.
I think we do.
Joe can put that up. Anyway, I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie
We're
Norman.
the Norman Home Team, and you're listening to the Real Estate Hour. We'll be right back.
The Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman. They'll be right back with more on KSRO.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Sunday morning.
Happy Sunday
Welcome back to the Real Estate Hour. We're going to wrap up the show with a couple of things we've been teasing about the whole show. Stephanie has a great list of things to avoid after you apply for a mortgage. So, we always say don't do these things when you're in escrow, but really don't do them once you've applied for a mortgage. Because you can mess everything up. And your pre-approval may not really be accurate if you make these changes and do things you shouldn't.
And
So what's on your list?
Is applying for a mortgage the same as applying for a loan?
Yes.
Okay. You hear that, people?
For the people that, yes.
for the ones that don't know.
Yeah.
Not that I don't know. I just want to make sure that everyone knows.
No, thanks, because sometimes, and it's good, this is what's nice having a younger, fresh realtor in the room, is because we get so set in our ways of saying things and just throwing information out there, and then people are just, their eyes glaze over and they go, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So to wind it back a little to basics and not throwing words. So thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Your mortgage is the same as your home loan, as a loan. You're applying for a loan for your home.
Yes. So once a lender has reviewed your finances as a part of the home buying process, you want to be as consistent as possible.
Okay.
So you don't want to change bank accounts.
Nope.
You do not want to apply for any new credit cards or close any credit accounts. Don't deposit large sums of cash into your accounts. Don't co-sign any other loans for anybody.
No, because that'll knock you out of that.
And it'll ding your credit because it'll look up your credit score, and you don't want any of that.
Yeah.
And then another big one is that do not go and make any big purchases. Don't go buying furniture, appliances, any of that. Not even a car.
Don't buy a car. Don't
None
do
of that. Nothing.
Things.
Don't do anything that's going to affect your credit. And just, you don't want that money in your bank account to go down. You don't want any of that.
Right. And it does. Yeah. A couple of the things that you mentioned on there. Excuse me. Yeah, changing the bank accounts. Large deposits. Some, people will move money around. There has to be a paper trail, and it's okay if you have money in your 401k. If you have any money left in your 401k right now, if you have money in your 401k and you need to get that into your bank account, you want to get that in because you're going to use it. Or if you have money in a separate, a CD or something, you're going to be using that to pay for your house. You don't want to just put it in there. You want to have a paper trail. So it's okay to do, but talk to your lender and say, hey, I have this money. I need to transfer it over. If you're getting a loan from, your Uncle Bill and whoever, your uncle or aunt or grandma or your mom, they're going to see that money. They're going to want to know where it came from. And they're most likely going to want a letter from that person as a gift letter. And a lot of times it's important to understand the gift letter. It's not just a letter saying, hey, I'm giving this person money. They want to see your finances, the gifter. They want to see the person that's giving the gift. They want to see your financials that shows that you have that money that you can give them. And the reason they do this, they want to make sure it's not a loan.
Yes.
So they're going to have an official thing for them to sign, but they also then want to, and that's what hangs people up a lot of times is the person will say, sure, I'll loan you some money, or I'll give you some money. Maybe it's a loan. They're just not going to say anything, but which don't do that, but people do. But they don't realize now they have to show their finances, and maybe, and a lot of them, it's like, well, I don't want, my niece or nephew or my friend or whatever, I don't want them to see how much money I have. I don't want them, it's none of their business what my financial is. They just need to know that I'm giving them some money. Well, the bank needs to know. So a lot of times what the lender will do is say, well, just send it to us directly. You don't need to show it to the person that you're giving the money to. But we need to see it as the lender. So that hangs up people a lot of times, is they don't realize that it's not just a letter that says, hey, sure, I'm going to give this person the money. But anyway, that's important to understand. And if most banks, you need 90 days, 3 months of bank statements so if you want to, you want to make sure that the money has aged before. So if somebody's going to give you money and they don't want to deal with all of that, have them do it 6 months ahead of time. Get that into your bank account, and then it'll already be in there, and the lender's not going to ask questions. And then, and that's not, any kind of fraud. It's not lying to anybody. It's that just to know and have this conversation with. So your loan officer is there to help you. They're like your agent. They're here to support you. There's an underwriter in the background. They're the ones that ask the hard questions, that want to see the things. So talk to your lender, and they're going to say, no, we don't want to do that. We're going to do it this way instead. They're the ones that get everything in a neat little package to send to the underwriter. And a lot of people they're like afraid to tell the lender anything. But tell, not the lender, but your loan officer. Tell your loan officer, your loan originator, they've got LO, they've got different names. The person that you're working with that's processing your loan, tell them what you're trying to do, and they're going to let you know, no, we don't want to do it that way. Let's do it this way. The underwriter's not going to like it if we do it that way. So they're really your advocate and your ally.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to talk to them. Tell them what's going on. Tell them any issues that you have, because they're going to come up. It's just like, they always say, Mike Kelly always said, don't lie to your doctor. Don't lie to your realtor. Don't lie to your lender. Don't lie to your lawyer, your attorney. Those people are here. We're here to help you. So, and there's this thing where, buyers or sellers, they don't want to give up too much information because they might lose, I don't know what they think. But anyway, tell the truth and don't hold things back, because we're going to let you know, okay, that's not okay to do, or let's do it this way
and
instead.
it's going to come up either
It'll
way,
come up.
So.
Yeah, it'll come up. Same with
gonna
disclosures.
hurt you in the end.
Don't not disclose, because it'll come up.
Bite you in the butt in the end.
So quickly, before we run out of time, the last thing we wanted to talk about is, as we're seeing more inventory come on the market, there are, and like we said at the beginning of the show, this doesn't mean the neighborhood, the type of house, the town that you're looking in. That doesn't mean that you have leverage in all of these places. But if you're looking in a market where there's a lot of inventory, you as a buyer have a little bit more, you have a little bit more negotiating power. And so just be aware of that. And I have the wrong list here.
Oh, no.
Okay, but anyway, I was looking at my list, but it's information that we know. The other thing we'll talk about next week is, and we actually have a good post on our Facebook page about the number one thing sellers need to know about at their asking price. That's actually what I wanted to talk about. But let's talk. It's important to price your house right, and we don't have time to do that. That's where your realtor is really going to help you. Let them help you. I know there's a price you have in mind. I know that you saw something on Zillow, or you saw something on one of the other, third-party places, or your neighbor down the street sold their house for this amount. Your house is not that house. The third party, they look at data only. They don't know what your house looks like. They don't know the work you did on your house. They just
drive by. They don't go inside half of the time.
Half the time they fly by now on their little drone, or they look on the Google Earth or whatever.
Yeah, so
they don't know. So really let your lender help you with that. Ultimately, like I said, it's your decision, but let your lender help you. And then back to the part about having that, if the realtors are here to help you understand, is this a market where you maybe can ask for closing costs? Maybe you can ask for them to leave the washer, dryer, or refrigerator. Maybe they've already offered to, Maybe you can offer a little bit lower. Because it's been sitting on the market for a long time. Maybe you can ask them to throw in a home warranty, or you can ask them to buy down your interest rate. There's all kinds of different things that you can ask for in the right market. If it's a house that just came on the market, they're not ready to negotiate with you yet. But if
you can try.
You can try. We will never say, oh, we're not writing that offer for you.
Everything in real estate is negotiable.
Yeah, you can always ask. You can always ask. And the like I said, the agent should not be answering for their client.
Yes.
They actually are required to present any offer that they receive. And then there's actually a place on the offer to say, buyer received this offer and rejected it or didn't or whatever, just saying, yes, we received it. It's a requirement. And there have been issues in the past where, not so much around here, but I hear, around the country from other agents, they're sure their offer wasn't presented. And the agent just said, oh, they're not going to accept that. Well, how do you know? You didn't give it to them. Anyway, we're out of time.
Yeah, so if you missed anything and wanted more information, The Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman on Facebook, or you can look on ksro.com for our podcast.
Yeah.
Ask the expert, and then I think we're at the bottom somewhere in there.
Yeah, you'll find it. Kiss Rocket. We got to go. Joe's waving at us. All right, I'm Allison Norman.
I'm Stephanie Norman.
We're the Norman Home Team. You've been listening to the Real Estate Hour. Have a great day.
Go Giants!
Woohoo!
You've been listening to The Real Estate Hour with Allison and Stephanie Norman, the Norman Home Team on KSRO. Join them every Sunday morning at 9, covering every stage of a real estate transaction, from tips on buying and selling your home to North Bay market updates. Sonoma County real estate market knowledge from real estate professionals born and raised in the North Bay. You can reach Allison and Stephanie anytime. Call or text 707-799-3617. That's 707-799-3617. DRE license numbers 017-20334 and 022-09237. The Real Estate Hour with Allison Norman and Stephanie Norman. Sunday mornings at 9 on KSRO and KSRO.com.